Okay, what's up, guys? So I do think this is an important topic. Is the topic of buying sex, guys? Like, should you or should you not buy sex? And especially, I do hear that even some pastors or leaders in the church could be struggling with this too, and even just everyday Christians as well. I personally have struggled in this area as well. Both in an unknowing way, as far as like you know, not really knowing about this segment of life in a way, but also just, there's many people that can have a misunderstanding or just, be stuck in something that they may not know how to get out of as far as habits. And so, anyway, guys, um, some things that I think of that I can share. I do think I would make an AI video on this, guys. But if you don't know, sometimes you can't even make all the AI videos that you want because they have like parameters on making automatic videos and stuff. Now there may not be too many other videos actually on YouTube to really get this information, guys. But obviously, we have the Word of God where all of our information comes from in regards to, fighting this stuff. And so I was really seeing how the book of Revelation could be talking about and prophesying a time where there's more and more access to like prostitutes, both men or male or female prostitutes, guys. Especially when you think about how people can be more and more fed up with, maybe their romantic life or their marriage life. And so that is one of the first things I want to talk about is like, I've seen myself degrade into different types of sexual sin when, one, I have a lack of relationship with God and reading the word and really getting serious about following Jesus, guys. But then also, two, getting caught up in my emotions or what Jesus, I think, references as having cares of this life, guys. And so, I do think that is one way that if you're struggling in this particular area, and overcoming this is, maybe you're too caring or emotional about maybe your financial life in whatever way, or maybe your romantic life. Too many people have, hurt you or broken your heart. And so you kind of have this calloused maybe feeling about, romance, and you're like, no, yeah, I'm just going to buy sex, and also, guys, one thing I've learned from, the whole buying sex category that the Bible actually does talk about somewhat, guys, is how it can represent a misunderstanding about the whole idea of sex, guys. In some form, when you think about eternity, guys, um, and sort of the misplacement. Now, again, I don't want this to be a judgment type of thing or like shame thing, because, we've all done stuff that we later look back, it's like, oh, God saw me do that. But, I do think I'm trying to really address sort of a helpful thing to help myself and others, is kind of, um, you know, sometimes there are different types of addictions, guys. That's what the Bible really tells us is that, even though you may not necessarily have a, there are people out there that may not have like a coffee addiction or something, and we can sort of look at someone, with a strange or different addiction and be like, oh, that's weird. Why are they addicted to that? But even on the TV show TLC, the channel TLC, you see that at least some people are portraying that they have like some weird addiction. Like I've seen some strange ones, like eating glass almost, which is like, how is that possible? Or addicted to eating maggots, you know and how's that possible? But the Bible actually records, John the Baptist like preferring to eat locusts or something, which we would look back at, these days and like, oh, that's a little bit, taboo. And so, anyway, guys, we shouldn't necessarily look down at this, particular sin in regards to like oh, they can never change or something. But at the same time, you know, we do want to take this serious as well, because, guys, I just try to be a little bit honest, guys, so I can definitely come out of some of the trouble I've been in life, and just, and help people confess their sins, guys. Because, definitely if I'm having trouble in my marriage, or, trouble managing life and different things, guys, I've seen that lead me to poor choices. But also, I think what's been going on reflection is kind of a hardened heart. Maybe I think that's somewhat of it. Where maybe I'm bitter about things. I know when I look back on some of the things that's been coming out of my mouth lately, when I really think about it, I feel like I've just, sort of been complaining, or, just, trying to vocalize or get through some of the disturbing things that I perceive as like disturbing things in my life, or just how my life is going. And I think that does somewhat equate to maybe making poor choices in regards to sex and romance and relationships. And so hopefully that was a helpful thing, guys. And, you can think about how you may be doing that. And then, um, you know, maybe I have been exposed to how, uh, different parts of my heart that needs to be worked on. Jesus warns us about being a hypocrite, where, you say one thing to someone and then you're doing it yourself, or even, in secret or something yourself. And so, guys, there has been a time in my life recently, guys, where I've been struggling with, sin, and in regards to sexual sin, guys. But I can share, from the standpoint of, knowing what God says in His Word, and, one, seeing victory, but also, planning on walking in victory, just, every day. I can share that, when I've done a little bit of study on this, guys, these are some of the things that, comes up. Now, thinking based off of the Word of God, guys, um, Paul says, I think, a lot of helpful things in First Corinthians, where he brings us insight on, when you are sleeping with a prostitute, guys. Yeah, it's more than just like, hey, I paid for your time or something, like, let's do this pleasurable thing. But also, the Bible tells us that, irregardless of our control over it, we are like, exchanging like, spiritual connection. And so that's one of reality that, at least when you're like, really trying to resist this sin, guys, um, you know, you say like, hey, um, I may be thinking about this in a lesser way than what God views it, and then second, guys, you know, um, loneliness, dealing with loneliness. I think this is one of the reasons why it's not, God said, it's not good for humans, to be alone, is, kind of coping with, your perceived rejection. I think that's kind of come out of my mouth lately, guys. Is, kind of like, oh, I'm mad that my wife, is, ignoring me, or I'm mad at my, spouse, like, seeming like they don't want me, even though they also showing that they kind of want me around. But it's, you're kind of dealing with, rejection, basically. And so that's what I think, kind of is going on in the struggle. Jesus said he was tempted at every point that we are, but without sin, guys. And so, we can look at how Jesus interacted with the whole prostitute, uh, realm, and gather from that, he was always in a, ministry standpoint, guys, where he's like, you know, um, hey, I'm trying to minister, to everyone, but then I do think, Jesus showed us that, just like you heard of Billy Graham, he's trying not to, you know, uh, put himself in certain situations where, he's compromised or something. I think we can gather that from, the Gospels. But then, I think, in a booklet, kind of sobered me up to the fact that, God is only good, guys. And so, really getting kind of honest about, talking with God. Um, if you have to do videos like this where you're telling people, if you don't have a lot of people you can talk to, you're sharing it in some capacity, guys. I try to use discretion, guys, on this channel, even though, I want to be a part of the group that's like, hey, being honest with God and stuff. But still, I'm just suggesting that you try to bring it into the light, you know, because I think what a lot of pastors, and like teachers or ministers, and just, even just any Christian, sometimes we do get into a cycle of like, hiding things, guys. Thankfully, I've been in that kind of season of just like trying to confess things, guys. But there was a time, I do remember when I've messed up in, not only my marriage now, but like in the past when I've dated and stuff. There's been, strong urge within me to keep things secret, from my spouse, or not even, talk to God about it, dude. So like there's times where, I do feel like walking with Jesus is a lot better to, handle some of these situations. And so one of the things that I think is sort of happening with, especially ministry guys, is a lot of us are forced into a place where we confess these sins or getting them in the light. For example, like, somehow the pastor's uh, secrets get on the news or something. Somehow it seems like they come across some sort of situation that is sort of in some sort of surprising manner where, the secret is revealed in some way, shape, or form. And then they make it on their platform and be like, hey guys, yeah, like I'm addressing it. And so, not to necessarily, sort of downplay that whole, process, because I think I do that too, guys, in my own way. I'm just saying, some these days, I feel better trying to, receive mercy from God, guys. And it is true, guys, that, yeah, we may be prone to sin, guys, but God does reveal that we can see different levels of victory as his children, guys. Like, just because David sinned doesn't mean we have to sin, like David, or we can learn from David without looking down on David or something, or exalting ourselves over David. I'm just trying to say, guys, I think also in the church we are sort of selling ourselves short on, how well we can obey God, and so, we have to sort of try to believe better. But guys, moving forward for me, um, some of these things I think do come from just repeatedly sort of trying to practice Jesus's teaching, where we get more freedom, guys. Not always trying to change up maybe what you're doing, but, especially I just want to make, people aware of, kind of the change in times where, you could have young people who, if this world starts to accept the, whole deal of buying sex, where it's just more convenient, or even the taboo thing of like having sex with the robot, guys. And, what if the world does get more corrupt, guys, while we're still here, maybe before the rapture, guys? Now, this is where we get into radical trusting God that, some things we just won't see this world turn into, I think, sometimes. But, at the same time, guys, you know, what are we going to do to respond to some of these situations, guys? I truly feel, guys, that, I after this video, I could like literally like if there was a prostitute at my door, I would still like probably try to sleep with them, guys. And I just want to say that because like sin is that real, guys, where like even though I'm coming on this platform and like, saying these things, like, you know, even Jesus saying that he was tempted, guys, it shows you that, this is a serious matter. And so it takes great strength, and dedication to do these things, guys. And so hopefully me sharing that sort of shares that, I'm not necessarily just trying to, be fake about this necessarily, guys. Like, yeah, I deal with real temptations, guys, but, I want to be faithful to my wife, guys. I'm not trying to, sleep around, yeah, I mean, there's great parts about sex, guys, but still, I do agree with God that, there's a time and a place for things, guys. There's a way about it. There's a respect that we have to have for a certain process, of life, guys. There's a way of things that they should be done, guys. And I know, guys, when I have encountered the whole prostitute situation, guys, like sleeping with a prostitute, guys, which I never want to go back to, but I just personally did not like how I was just sort of, hey, it's sort of this kind of not romantic, like it's just your pleasure type of thing, guys. And so there is a reason why I think a lot of states and countries make it illegal, guys, because you know um I do believe sex is, reserved for like people that are understanding, that it's more than just some sort of transaction, or it's more than just thinking about your own pleasure, guys. Because that's the other thing about, like buying sex or something. I think a lot of people in those kind of situations, I know this isn't everything, but like everyone, but you're sort of always thinking about your orgasm, guys. And like that's, I think marriage and stuff, should be also about thinking the other person too. So anyway, um I think that's why, hey guys, I would love to kind of like be in person, guys, but do sort of see why like sometimes God is like maybe having me be an online ministry right now, or you may be wondering why you don't have many friends or something. I do think that there is God is working, and so I have hope to walk in purity, guys, because here's another thing, guys. Even for myself, guys, I truly believe that the Bible is telling us that some of these things, especially sexual sin, that if we continue, guys, of course, you can't, I can't say who's necessarily going to heaven or hell, but I don't think it would be good for us on Judgment Day, guys, if we are not, overcoming, this sin, guys. And especially for people, after doing some study on this stuff, guys, like I do, believe that, yeah, like I said, like if there was a prostitute at my door right now, like, I'd probably get with her, right? But I do think it would be unacceptable, guys, like especially after, hearing me say this, like if I were to like tomorrow and the next day and for the whole week, sort of do that, guys. Like I feel like as a Christian, that would be unacceptable. So thanks so much, guys. God bless you. See ya.